Welcome to Get Connected with Nina Del Rio, a weekly conversation about fitness, health, and happenings in our community on 106.7 Light FM.
Good morning, and thanks for joining us on Get Connected. Now, we all know the saying, man up. Get to it, show some grit, get what you deserve. Dr. Tracey Wilen is turning the tables, telling us it's time to women up. Dr. Wilen studies business trends, work, and careers, and she joins us with her perspective on why 2015 is an up year for women and why now is the time to pursue what we want at work. Dr. Wilen, thanks for joining us again on Get Connected.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Her website is TraceyWilen.com, W-I-L-E-N. Dr. Wilen has authored 11 books, including Women Lead, Career Perspectives from Workplace Leaders, and her newest book is Employed for Life, 21st Century Career Trends. Regarding 2015 specifically, though, you say it's an up year for women, an advantageous year for women in the workplace. Why is that?
I do, and I started watching the trends carefully in 2014 that were very optimistic for women. And I see that trend continuing. Mainly, women are in the news all the time and succeeding in multiple areas, whether it's in the workforce, whether it's through self-employment, and even our boomer women are leading the way.
So you have examples of particular issues that you think bring momentum to the case that have been building with regard to raises, promotions, and leadership opportunities. One of them is the situation at Google, which doesn't seem like it's a great thing on the face of it, the facts of how few women are actually in their tech sectors.
Yes. So actually in 2014, Google published, a report. They analyzed their own data in their firm to see what are the percentages of women and minorities. And actually they shined a light on something that we need more transparency on. The numbers are off. But because they did that, it was out in the open and people started talking about it. And 9 other firms analyzed their data in Silicon Valley as well and found that their numbers weren't very good either. And that, to me, started to create this momentum. People started to sign up and say, we have to do something about the pipeline. The pipeline is here. Now we have to invest in diversity and inclusion. And that, to me, is why I think it's positive for 2015.
I think what you're referring to, some of these issues or some of these initiatives are Intel specifically. They say they're going to put up to $300 million to increase opportunities for women and minorities. How does that translate into action, a plan that actually is more than, just on the surface, a big headline?
That's right. And I would like to see, the traction happen. I see people saying we're going to invest in it. We're going to open up doors, create programs so that we can make sure that people are poised for leadership opportunities as they come up. We're going to carefully screen all candidates for opportunities on boards. But I'm waiting, like you are, to see this actually happen in traction. Now, positive note on that, I have been invited into a lot of companies who are taking this very seriously and trying to think through how can we embrace our educated, highly poised leaders, women, to move forward.
Do you have any concrete examples of that? Because I wonder, do male boards, which are mostly what you're dealing with, do male boards and hiring managers know how to recruit and retain women?
Well, we have, the 30% club. Some big-name firms are committing to, like McKinsey, NBC, and DuPont, to sign up to commit 30% of their board seats to women. Now, we know that there's a quota system testing in Europe where countries are actually signing up and saying we have to do something, and Norway has had the most progress in it. When we're looking for, what's happening with those programs, McKinsey has done a fantastic study showing that companies that have women in executive roles and on boards have increased overall financial performance 15% more than companies that have not. So again, I'm seeing people analyzing it, looking at it, quantifying it, and really trying to take some action.
Looking at it from another perspective, you also say 2015 might be the year for women to up and out of the firm where they work. In other words, if you don't get what you want, you could go. Is that just because of overall optimism in the economy?
Well, here's what I encourage women is, you're in the spotlight now. If you're working, and this is, the opportunity for you to raise your hand and say, I want to get on board with some of these great programs. I want to be a leader. Where's the next opportunity for me? If you're hitting your head against the wall, yes, I think there is a lot of optimism. The last quarter of 2014 had very good job reports. The first quarter of 2015, we had high consumer optimism. Companies were saying that instead of just replacement hiring, which is fulfilling when someone leaves, they're also looking at growth hiring. That signals to me as an employee there's opportunities outside the firm. So if I can't get movement inside the firm, then I would encourage women to start looking outside, because raises and promotions can be as much as 20 to 25% if you go to a competitor, a vendor, or a customer. So I'm very optimistic if people want to make moves.
There's also the option of owning your own business, and women-owned businesses are actually growing faster than ever.
Yes, and so that's the third point is, okay, if it's not working at the firm that you're at and you're looking outside and you don't see what you want, a lot of women are just saying, you know what, I can run a company. And women-owned firms are growing at 1.5 times the national average, and we expect that to increase. So women are just saying, I'm going to take it into my own hands and own my business, whether it's a startup, a franchise, or some sort of self-employment.
What is the demographic of these women, and what does that tell you? Do you know anything about their financial background to start with, or their age, perhaps?
Well, this is what excites me about women in multiple generations. It's a lot of the Gen X and younger boomers who are moving into franchising or who have or own businesses. The average age is about 45 to 54. And women, by the way, own about 25% of the franchises today. We might remember the real estate agent of the past, but that real estate agent is, expanding her franchise, and she's now owning School of Rock or, a Subway or some other type of franchise that's of interest to her.
I do want to ask about those franchises specifically, because I think from data that you gave me, the most commonly owned franchises by women are School of Rock, Great Clips, and Huntington Learning Centers, which are great businesses. But in some sense, to me, they're traditional choices for women. They're about education, children, and personal grooming. To me, these choices feel as if there's still a divide. There's not an opening into male-dominated areas.
Well, actually, so women will migrate, and currently they're looking at franchises that they're comfortable with. So many women are pursuing home-based businesses or specialty business that interest them, like salons and spas and clothing and fitness. But many of our younger women are starting businesses in the technology sector, but, in security or SlideShare or, some sort of social media technology. So, again, it can be generational, but to me, owning a business is owning a business, right? And to me, it's not a gender preference. It's you're owning a business, you're making money, you're running your shop.
We're speaking with Dr. Tracey Wilen. She has, Dr. Wilen studies business trends, work, and careers. She's been a scholar at Stanford University and held leadership positions at Apple, HP, Cisco, and the Apollo Group. We're talking about women in business for 2015, why it's a good time for us. Website is TraceyWilen.com. Our website is LightFM.com, and you're listening to Get Connected on 106.7 Light FM. I'm Nina Del Rio. Particularly for women-owned businesses, you say that women under 30 are dominating the crowdfunding sphere when it comes to starting new businesses. Why in particular are women doing better by using crowdfunding than men?
So, the American Express Open Forum continues to publish and monitor new businesses by women and startup businesses. And what they found is that women are starting businesses at an average of $1,200 a day. That's up from $740 a day last year. And where it's happening is that they're leading in 8 out of the top 13 industries. And women dominate the crowdfunding space. This is like Kickstarters and Indiegogo, because they're saying, if in the past I couldn't get funding through the normal channels, I can now have these new internet-enabled marketplaces and really reach out to the crowds to help me fund my business. And a lot of women are just taking advantage of that and saying, I have an idea, let me put it out there, and people are making donations towards it. So it's pretty exciting that we have these new options for financing that we didn't have in the past.
Another way to look at the perspectives on women at the moment is to be upbeat. You say about politics. There's conversation about Hillary Clinton, Elizabeth Warren, Carly Fiorina. We're talking about them quite a bit. How does that translate to a better business climate for women?
When we started in 2015, the first week of January, the word was all about Hillary, who's running for her, who's running against her. That's the first time in history that the conversation of the presidential candidacy was about a female that strong, a year before the elections. And then you start to see in the media the shows are taking a new direction, whether you're watching House of Cards, Veep, Madam Secretary, The Good Wife. All of it is starting to show and position women in high-ranking positions of authority. And that, to me, is just, we're making a transition. We're making a transition in society. We're embracing the fact that women are leaders in many sectors, including politics. And I think 2016 is going to be very exciting. And, to me, this is useful for women because now you see role models. You can see people who are doing things that you can start to envision yourself doing.
You also note that boomer women are up on travel and shacking up. So who's in that group and where are they going?
You're right. So I see actually three trends now with women. I see them up on travel, I see them shacking up, and I also see them buffing up. So the women boomers are leading the way, and that's what I think is so interesting. They're looking at travel and saying, I didn't get a chance to travel because I was working or I was raising kids. So they're taking about 5 trips a year, according to AARP, who monitors some of our senior trends, and they're going to mostly in the United States, but also overseas. A lot of them are, doing the bucket list, places I wanted to go, or, visiting family and having multi-generational trips, or just taking that summer vacation that they never had. In terms of shacking up, many of us might remember that great show called Golden Girls, where where 4 women who were either widowed or divorced, over 55, decided to live together. And that's what our boomer women are saying. I'm retiring. I don't want to go live with my kids. I don't want to live alone, and I don't want to go to an old age community. So why don't I just create roommate opportunities with my good friends, and then we can travel together, we can share chores, we can share finances, and it's probably going to be a lot safer and a lot more fun. In terms of buffing up, the YMCA noted that over the past 3 years, they've had an increase of over 34% of plus 65 membership, because older people are saying, I'm living longer, I need to stay healthy and take care of myself, and I got to get into the gym. And so they're driving yet another new trend for our older women. And
maybe this is like when you were talking about politics, it's women changing a perspective of what they can do and how other people might see them.
Women, this is the one thing I embrace about women in Women Lead. What I noticed when I interviewed women and surveyed women, they don't view life as an obstacle. They view it as a challenge and an opportunity. And I see women spearheading this in so many different avenues and sectors. And it's a different way of looking at things, and I think it's a much more positive way of looking things than in the past.
I want to ask, or finish up by asking about equal pay. And you'll be familiar with this. When some of the most recognizable women in the world are still getting paid less than their male counterparts, and I'm thinking about the Sony leak that showed that Charlize Theron and Jennifer Lawrence were still getting paid less than their male co-stars. What does that say to you about any leverage or expectation that the average woman has to be paid an equal share?
So here's what I encourage women to do, because I did it myself. Okay, so you're looking at salaries, you're looking at it's not level. So now you have to start thinking about yourself as a business, as an entity that needs to make revenue, and how are you going to do that? Salary is just one channel. So I encourage women to become financially astute in other financial instruments, such as, do you understand the stock market? Do you understand about real estate? Do you understand about bonds? Can you figure out alternative revenue streams like entrepreneurship or consulting or, Etsy? I have a lot of women colleagues who are promoting and selling things on Etsy and eBay. Think about your package. Yes, we have challenges. Yes, we have opportunities, but you make them yours. Own it. Don't sit back and whine, but rather say, how am I going to progress this ahead? That's why I get very excited about women business owners, because they will level the playing field and help change it, right? Well, I believe we'll be at a tipping point soon where women will continue to hire other women and create a more level salary field.
Dr. Tracey Wilen, she's been a scholar at Stanford University and has held leadership positions at Apple, HP, Cisco, and the Apollo Group. Her latest book is Employed for Life, 21st Century Career Trends, and her website is Tracey, with an E, Tracey Wilen, WILEN.com. Tracey, thanks for joining us on Get Connected again.
Thank you.
This has been Get Connected with Nina Del Rio on 106.7 Light FM. The views and opinions of our guests do not necessarily reflect the views of the station. If you missed any part of our show or want to share it, visit our website for downloads and podcasts at 1067lightfm.com. Thanks for listening.